Once you've entered the Gren atmosphere, you're immediately bombarded by spears attacking your ship. You have to land on the ground considering it hit something vital, and your ship is being observed by two cat creatures called Feelings, also named Samonla and Farna. After they proceed to run off, you land on the ground, but you don't have much time to catch your breath, considering they're getting attacked by a monster. But before you actually approach the monster, there's a warp point, so don't forget about it, and now you have to face a boss. The Mojo really isn't too bad once you enter, though it can hit pretty hard. Mojo will have two attacks, a magic attack in Hailstorm, which will only hurt one character, and a swallow whole attack. And from my experience, this attack cannot be blocked, no matter how hard I try, so just make sure you're keeping yourself safe. They have quite a bit of HP, but if Lassie is in the back healing your team and Mocha's in the protagonist, or Chai if you have him, are doing damage, you'll be okay. Though make sure you're not an idiot like me and heal up with this ship. After Mojo is defeated, you see some magic, killing the beast so you can enter the village of Tropica, where Piko is being held hostage, tied up because he's a magician, and he's going to be sent off to the pirates, which is a big no-no for the Feelings because none of them have magic. Nope, not at all. Tropica has a few things before you continue with the plot. First, the shop with some good equipment and items. The biggest item to buy is the nut spread, but it'll be useful later. It also has a couple of nice equipment. In the daytime, however, there's actually a second shopkeeper. He sells some pretty neat stuff as well. It's a lot cheaper here on Buffoon, and it could be nice to have some equipment once you're mostly on par with the team. Next, head to the northwestern part of town to the purple building to grab a tentacle and some cat ears. As well as, if you want, talking to Gamelon. She's a fortune teller and can be useful to get you on the right track, I guess. From what I tested, she can say over 500 phrases after I talked to her 7 times, though she can have many more fortunes to tell, but I wasn't patient. I mean, you could also talk to her throughout the game, and she might give you some different fortunes, but let's face it, you're probably here to see her dance seductively, because I guess that's how you see your fortunes. But hey, I guess I'm not complaining.
This better not awaken anything in me.
If you want to continue the plot, head to the house in the north and interact with the potted plant, and have a quick but ominous discussion with the village leader, Darum, after some weird family drama. And then he offers to pay for you to stay at the inn. Then head over to the inn and sleep through the night. And you know, nothing strange happens. Not at all. Once you arrive, you can sleep here again if you want to power up dark magic, because you're going to be facing against another boss fight. You step outside and notice Piko is mysteriously gone, the room tries to pin it on you, and the village folk just don't believe this guy. Before he's called out, another Mojo sent by Chard, and now to attack you again. You have to defeat it, and the only difference here is he drops 500 Vera instead of 600 Vera for some reason, and after that he wakes up again, but it has a curse that it cannot die. Well, isn't this great? Now we have to play it a third time, and then not even healed up, and... oh yeah, we have that. After being kicked out for deceiving the entire village, we need to go find Piko and protect these 3 Feelings. Or Farna literally hops away. Why can't this adventure be simple? You know, like Ben 10 Galactic Racing. You know, the better space journey video game. We have quite a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of this plan. Before anything, get the warp point in the northern cliffside portion before heading to the whole maze portion of the planet. Head northwest to get an HP pot and more sugar stars, and use Chai's wood magic to have leaves fall on the ground, and you can get some special leaves. These leaves boost stats depending on the leaf, and use Chai's magic, and if the screen turns green, you know it's somewhere in that area. If you leave, it'll reset, though it can only work a certain amount of times. It's hard to notice, but if the color is darker than the ground, you'll know you have it. Next, head to the west and continue before you find a chest containing a magic tank. This equipment is a perfect showcase for exclusive equipment for certain type of mages. For instance, this is only used on earth mages, and you can increase your MP by 50. After the west exit, you'll find many tails, which are mostly the thorny tails to recover the thorn status effect, but some of them are weak tails, so grab them. Next, head north to find Piko lying on the ground. Then he runs off because he's a lone wolf or something, but head north again to find some gummy frogs and more tails if you want them. Then head northeast, then continue heading north, you'll find a chest that contains a chest. And if you thought this was something useful, it isn't. It doesn't help you in any way, just sell it. But if you're ever confused on your general location, the tip to help you up to find is side folds lying all around the area. It'll lead you in the right direction. If you're heading over in the direction of the bridges over at Clam River, you'll be in the right direction. After entering from the bottom corner where Piko ran up, you can head east for faster progression, or north for more goodies. Go north if you're low on tails. Then you continue east to find one of the crashed ships and the gummy frogs if you want. If you head north and then northeast, you'll find a chest containing a silver ring. Next, after that, you can head over the second bridge. If you head west, there's more tails and a dead end with an already open treasure chest. I'm starting to think these developers hate you. Or I would say that if you check behind the sign and find a gummy frog. Next, head east over the right path over Clam River, and after heading north, another fork in the road heading east or west. Don't head west, nothing awaits you there, except some sparrows. Head east, north, then west to find an MP pod, and also a donation box. What is this jungle's obsession with empty chests? Then head north over to the 5th bridge after all the trees. Then head west, you'll find gummy worms, south of sparrows, and a chest containing cat paws, and you'll be right at the mini boss. It's not that bad, but you'll be bombarded by swarms of enemies. Speaking of enemies, let's talk about them. For the foes here, there's a lot of them, so let's go from easiest to hardest. The easiest enemy by far is the Swinger. They may be a wood mage and have quite a lot of HP, but they have no wood magic and have two very similar flank frog attacks. If you reflex guard at the right timing, you'll take no damage and get a free gummy frog for your efforts. And they only attack the front row, so you can hypothetically grind to 99 gummy frogs if you are so patient enough, but they are very cheap to buy, so who really cares? Next up is the Florana. They're fast and the attack is kinda unpredictable, but they do little damage due to only showing up around the river area, and they only have 150 HP. Next up is the Boomer Ranger. These wind enemies are also easy considering they also have one attack. It's hard to block both attacks of the boomerang, catapacts, and hit the back row. Next is the Croco Busker. These creatures have a ukulele slam attack, does quite a lot of damage, and has the power to blind someone somehow, and a hard to predict front noisy attack that does pretty little damage. They're very tough to take down. Next are the enemies that are very terrifying. Nuts. Okay, hear me out. The Spiny Nuts are creatures of frustration. Although they have a very easy blockable slug attack, 50% of the time they'll start using Pepperthorn. They will use Pepperthorn and either kill Lassie in 2 hits or get you Thorny, so you'll take more damage. They'll be 2 or 3 at a time, and just let me tell you, it sucks. Just try to take them out ASAP. They don't have much HP. But then there's the Buffalo. Sure, you might say, they don't seem that bad. Lassie can easily one-shot them, and if you have an easy block stab attack, I mean, they can summon backup, but what's the worst they can do? Summon a devil? Oh yeah. Let me give it to you straight. The Sheep Devil alone is a reason to go to the Wind Clan first. They have a lot of HP, very tanky, a Dark Mage, and if you're not careful, you'll take a very powerful and hard to block cross chop attack, or Blood Money, which will heal them, and probably OHKO any character if it's dark out. This wouldn't be an issue if the Buffalo wasn't so damn fast. Because there's 2 on the field already, they have a good chance to summon the devil alone. In 50 years at a time, the devil is powered up too. Again, this isn't too much for him to chise around, because he's extra body to take hits, outspeed, and use mildly strong magic. But with 3 characters, different story. For context, you're supposed to be level 10 to enter this dungeon, and the Sheep Devil is level 14. If you're going through the 3 mages, be careful. And if you have 4 mages up to this point, then it might be best to get Chai to level 14 to learn the move Minty Freshness, or Mocha to level 12 to learn Stalagmiter, just depending on which area you went to. But let's go back to the end of the dungeon to face against the mini-boss of the area, the Totem Bombs. This fight alone is going to be a test, no matter how you approach it. This boss is unique because the only way to defeat it is by using physical moves, not magic. Unless you want to tank 20 turns of it, then yeah, go for it. But it's faster and will kill your Gummy Frog collection. The Hell Bombs only have one attack, a self-destruction attack, which does 200 damage, and half your team is barely over 400 HP. 3 clean hits could easily take someone else. Lassie is completely mandatory in the back row for mostly support. Mostly on the first turn, use Nut Spreads to boost your defense, so it doesn't do as much damage. Even then, they can still get critical hits, which will completely ruin your strategy. Which is kind of uncommon though. But you can either use Gummy Frogs, or you can use Healing Wing. For the other 3 characters, or 2, put them in the front row and just constantly use physical attacks. Make sure you always attack one totem pole at a time, because if you have one character dealing with one totem pole at a time, it'll take forever and it won't be fun. The real issue here is using physical attacks. The reason? How did he dodge it? It's a freaking pole! So every attack matters. Again, it's not really too bad with 4 members, but with 3 characters, it's very, very scary. Once you finish those at least 10 turns of combat and destruction, you're able to enter the Salamander Cave. There's not much to this area, but you can talk to the Salamanders if you want to. But if you want progress, talk to the Trio of Felins, then talk to the Salamander above the beds for a night of sleep. And then you're off to the second half. After you get through the first half, the second half is a lot easier, though in the second half you'll find some tough enemies like the Elder Beetle. They're not all that common, but when they do show up, make sure you attack them almost immediately, because the Elder Beetle can either set up a Minty Freshness to boost defense, or throw a nasty Briar Patch to do a lot of damage to the whole party, and have a chance to Thorn. The only other enemy here is the Godosaur. The only dangerous thing about these guys is the fact that they do a lot of damage from the one attack they have. They're not that fast, but they're not to mess with either. Before you continue to the main route, head west to find another chest containing 2,000 Bira. Then head north past all the Gummy Frogs to stock up facing the new and improved Pirate Otters. These Pirate Otters are much stronger on Gren compared to Cassia because they have neat swords and have new tricks up their sleeve. First, they have a new Leaping Slash attack, which does a lot of damage, but they also have another attack called Weak Slash, which can lower your defenses. These attacks look the same visually, but try to block both either way. Always make sure Lassie is the back for using Healing Wing, or those Nut Spreads from earlier to keep your team healthy. And use Mocha to attack one of the deadly otters with a deadly Stalagmiter, which you should probably have up to this point. And even with 4 party members, you can use Protagonist and Shy to swarm a single Pirate Otter in a nasty 2v1. Once the battle is done, a horde of Pirate Otters jump from the ship, and there's way too many of them, so use Lassie's Wind Magic to blow them away to make their ship pop. Why didn't she use Wind Magic this whole time to get other enemies away from us? Don't question it and move on. After heading east and north to Assam, you're blocked off by the gatekeeper and then head west to find a gorilla blocking your path. The answer is literally right next to him, so use Mocha's Earth Magic to shake the bananas off the tree to make the crazy gorilla eat in peace. Somehow Piko managed to get lost in the jungle and you meet up with him to barge into the area and try to be heroic. Even trying to say Sorbet is his girl. I love this game. After Piko tussling with one of the Pirate Otters, you can explore the town of Awesome. Everything is blocked off, but you can get a free warp point for later on, and after that, you face against 4 Pirate Otters right next to the warp point. These guys are the same as before, but there's 4 instead of 3. Same strategy with 4 party members, but with 3, be a little bit more cautious. After healing up, head east and find Sorbet and Varna, and about to board the Pirate Otter ship before a Peacock fish shows up and tries to ruin your day. But Piko finally decides to join your party, even though he had all this time in the world, but I'll explain later because we have another boss fight. Okay, before I talk about this fight, I just need a second to read this bestiary entry. The brighter the fins, the less likely it is to spend Friday nights playing role-playing games. I swear, whoever writes these bestiary entries, they deserve a promotion. Anyways, this fight isn't really that bad. He has Hailstone, which actually has a chance to one-shot Piko, which has happened to me several times before. He also has a physical attack and swim fight, which can also do a lot. He's also pretty fast. This fight is pretty similar to the Mojo from earlier, with the same strategy with Mocha and the protagonist, doing the damage, Lassie healing potential injuries, Chai for potential damage and minty freshness, and Piko, well, he's just there for moral support, but he can use Lava Spuds or Afterburner if he so chooses to. After the fight, Sorbet hops on the ships and leaves the Raisin, leaving the rest of them confused on what to do next. After a short cutscene with Piko seeing the ship, after the next porting, Piko will finally explain his purpose, while also simultaneously breaking the fourth wall. So let's explain Piko. Piko is by far the most power you'll have in a party member, with a crazy high IQ stat and just regular good physical attack, and a lot of HP, a lot of MP. Honestly, he's probably slower than Mocha, but that doesn't really matter. If he was faster, I think he would be probably the most powerful character in your group. He might even be the most powerful character in your group. I mean, there's not really much flaws aside from he doesn't really have much defenses, but other than that, he's basically one of the strongest characters. He starts at level 14 already knowing 2 moves, Lava Spuds and Afterburner, and Afterburner hits everyone in the back row, as well as all of his other moves later down the line, while Lava Spuds only hits 3 characters. With his high strength, he's a great asset to the team. So I wish he showed up earlier, because, you know, it would have made everything easier. But that's it for Gren. There's no new areas to explore and no secret chests in here. If you haven't gotten Chai yet, head to Buffoon. But if you did, head to Cassia for your next objective. Which can probably kill Lassie in 2 to 3 hits. And they can also get you horny. She gets you horny.